Hey guys, Anish Majumdar here, career coach to the fiercely ambitious. Telling you right now that probably a whole bunch of you watching this might have some feelings about this video, all right? But it's time to talk about it. It's time to reveal something that has been an open secret in hiring for a very long time. It just hasn't been an open secret amongst job seekers for a very, very long time. Let's change that right now and let's start putting the power back into our hands. What am I talking about? I'm talking about fake executives. I'm talking about people who, just because they have the word VP in their job title or director, maybe even SVP, maybe even a C-suite title, they have the title, they don't have the impact, they don't have the freedom, they don't have the power, they don't have the authority over their lives. They are glorified employees with a highfalutin job title. And what this has caused, what this has created, is a very different set of circumstances than anything we've ever known before. It's basically created a true executive class and an executive underclass, and executive in name only class. And I'm going to give you some advice right now on how you can identify whether you're in this trap, and if you are in this trap, or if you are worried that you might be falling into this trap, how to get out of it right now. Because there's some certain key things that you can do. And as always in hiring, it's important to remember common sense, human relationships. Many of the best practices that work outside of hiring don't work here because of the pressure of trying to find good people, because of the pressure of a company, an organization, even a group of fellow leaders putting themselves in the vulnerable position of having to solve a problem that they don't know how to solve. It causes all sorts of counterintuitive things to happen. The translation, a couple of key, simple, actionable differences you make can completely change the game in terms of where you go from here and what type of offers you're able to attract. So let's talk about it. I wanted to start by letting you guys know and tell you a little bit about my father, who came to Canada from India in the late 70s and was an engineer by trade, and he spent much of his career working in Bell Helicopter, rising up. I remember when he was promoted, right? When he was finally promoted out of the manager sort of class, if you will, into the executive suite. It happened after like the better part of 15 years, a huge wait. We knew how hard he was working. He would come home and he would sometimes be so tired, he'd just like fall onto the couch for like an hour and we would know not to disturb him. So we knew how hard he was working. We knew how much he deserved it. We didn't think he'd have to wait that long. But the sad thing is that he got the title, but nothing ever really changed. You know, he was just as overworked. He was just as tired. He was just as feeling like they were never really seeing the truth of his value, but he was too important to lose. You know what I mean? And so there was this catch-22 that everyone was caught in. And that was basically it. I mean, that was as far as things went there, you know what I mean? And so that's someone who was caught in that trap, not because he was not working hard, not because he was not adding value, but because he didn't understand this truth. He didn't understand that there's a difference here between you're too valuable to lose and so we got to keep you around versus we need you as the in-demand expert that you are to do what only you can do. That's a completely different thing. And that brings me to my first point, okay? If you want to know about the clearest difference between these two types of executives, okay? The first one, all right, I'm just going to check my notes through this, okay? The type of executive you want to be is a leader who is in demand, has power, resources, and leverage to affect maximum change. This person has minimum downside, no matter what role they might have right now, because of how in demand they are and because what a unique position they have in the marketplace. And they're able to switch between industries and companies with relative ease. For them, usually the criteria that they're looking for when they're making a shift, to a new role, new company, whatever, is there fit? Like, do they truly get it in terms of the change that I make happen? That's one. And two, is there mutual commitment to the outcome? Okay. So those two things are absolutely key for a leader at that level. Now let's talk about the underclass. Okay. A glorified worker bee who who has to be promoted to exec status, usually director VP, rarely C-suite, although sometimes it can happen in certain cases, and will be given the title without much of anything changing on the impact front, right? There's a huge downside to this person because at the end of the day, they're considered an expert, but in this niche, in this industry, they do not feel generally free. If you're in IT and you're making a six-figure salary, and yes, you can be in indentured servitude and make six-figure salaries, as crazy as that sounds, I know, but this is the truth of what we're talking about here. You could be making, listen, if you're making $400,000 and you're living on the West Coast, first of all, you're not rich, and second of all, if you're making $400,000, but what you should be making for your impact, if you were properly rewarded, is 1.4 million plus, where's the generosity here? You're getting screwed. You're getting screwed. That's just the truth of it, right? So worker bees in that way, there's a huge downside because they don't feel like they have the market's attention in that way. And they have real trouble switching. And for them, okay, in terms of vetting the next thing, it's not really about choice. It's about saying the right things and, as always, demonstrating effort, because this is the clearest thing about the executive underclass. You're still judged not on impact, but on effort. How many hours did you put into this problem? How much of this unsolvable boulder did you push up the hill? You're still marked like a worker bee, not a leader. Do you see the difference, right? So these are the two classes. One is what we want. One is what we definitely don't want, right? Let me ask you two questions that'll get to the heart of this, in case it wasn't already clear. How happy are you day to day? Worker bees, even at the executive level, feel an overabundance of the stress, of the problems. They feel like their life is not in control. Is that how you feel most days, right? And here's the other question. What are you still apologizing for? Right? You're not there being devalued by accident. For many of the tech leaders, some of the most brilliant tech leaders I've ever worked with, they can come from India. You know, they feel like, oh, if they don't find another role, you know, these guys were so lucky to give me an H-1B visa, I'll never find that again. Maybe you're holding that left turn that didn't work out, or that business that you started 6 years ago that didn't become wildly profitable. But what is the excuse that you've been using and secretly apologizing for that has made you okay with accepting less, right? That's the real question. So I want you to ask yourself, how happy are you day to day? Are you feeling an overabundance of stress and lack of control? And two, what are you still apologizing for? The last one is, how much time do you spend asking for permission? Because you cannot be a true leader chasing impact and making that happen and spending your life asking for the permission of gatekeepers or anybody else. If you're constantly can't make a move without being micromanaged, then you know already what class you belong to. But those are the three questions. How happy are you day to day? What are you still apologizing for? How much time do you spend asking for permission? Now, if you find yourself on the wrong end of this equation, here's a few things that I would recommend, okay? Tie what you make to the higher range of outcome. Forget about your personal interests. Forget about your apologies. If you know you're at the CTO level, use pay scale resources like Glassdoor, etc. Figure out what they're making in your region and then tie what you do to the outcome. It's not personal, it's about outcome. If you've definitely been devaluing, you got to go high. Because at the end of the day, human nature dictates that we take more expensive things more seriously. So if you have not been taken seriously, one of the easiest things you can do is dramatically increase your asking price. Make people pay attention, and don't be willing to discuss that until you know what pain needs to be solved. There are no early discussions about that. Two, cut out the skills speak. No one wants to hear about a compendium of how much training and education you have. Skills are for suckers. The people who discuss that, they're suckers, because they know, the people at the high level, they know it's about what you do with it. You can have 80% less skills, but if you know how to use it more correctly, you can get further faster. And that's just the truth of it. Finally, start helping before the offer. No more asking permission, as we said. You can help people, you can engage people, you can build relationships right now. You can be out in the industry building relationships with CEOs, CTOs, CMOs, chief strategy officers. They're all there and they need help. All that's required is your willingness. Go out there and help them. Stop waiting and help. Put all of your energy, your anxiety, your focus, your neuroticism on helping other people. The more you do that, the faster this is going to change. Leaders don't ask for permission. That's the simple truth of it. And when I look at my dad's story, I see this brilliant man. He should not have been waiting 15 years for his promotion. He should have gotten it in year 2, year 3. If he hasn't, move on. And I'm saying the same thing to you guys. Don't waste your time. You're here for a short period of time. Make it count. Guys, if you want to go deeper down the rabbit hole of what I do, helloanish.com is where you need to go next. Thanks.